Top of the morning, you beautiful people. What's up? This is Asada, host of the Gathering of the Griots show. Welcome to another dope Tuesday. You know how we do. If it's Soulful Chicago Book Fair related, we're up on Gathering of the Griots. And so let's give homage before we jump into our wonderful interview today with Shanee. Let's pay homage to the female solution because that is the program that makes it possible. So be right back after these brief messages.
Women have the power to transform this world. We can end crime and violence if we all agree to do one thing: share. Let's share our wisdom, share our time, share our talents, share our finances, but most of all, let's share our love. This is the female solution.
All right, let it be known. This is the female solution, okay? The solutions are everywhere, and the female race is bringing it. Yes, indeed. We make that a reality every single morning of the week here on the Female Solution. And the Tuesday show is Gathering in the Grill. So before we start with our dynamic interview, it's Title Tuesday, hashtag Title Tuesday. Let that be known. And what I want to do is feature some of our titles for today. And so we have The Truth Twins by Michelle Renee Israel. Please write these down so when you get to the book fair, you pick those up. Then we have Lessons from Our Foremothers by my girl again, Michelle Renee Israel. Then my thing, y'all know I'm a Scientologist, Dianetics. L. Ron Hubbard will be in the building on August 9th, no doubt about it. And we have some fiction, When Shepherds Kill by James Hammond. Title Tuesday, hashtag Title Tuesday, bringing you Siren by Fanny Price. Bringing to you, who else coming to the party? Oh, Who Are We by Elogia Hadley. And she brought another one. Who Is She? Talking about our history and who our people are, my girl, Elogia Hadley again. And we have Rural Route 8 by E. Ray Tournick, another fiction title. We got a lot of fiction writers for the book fair coming strong. So happy to have all of those. We love you, Title Tuesday people. Let's do it. I love, and I just realized today, did a count. We are already over 100 titles for the Soulful Chicago Book Fair on August 9th. What were you talking about? It's 4 blocks long. We got to bring it. Each block is a different genre. So, and for the first time, fiction is in the lead. So I'm going to post that a little later. But anyway, without further ado, you beautiful souls, we're going to bring on the sister that is, she representing. That's all I got to say. When I saw how many books she has, and I want to know what's up in that mind. Let's bring her on. Sister K. Shanee, how are you, beautiful?
How are you? I'm good. Good morning.
You look great. Thank you for being here. Let me see if okay, everything looks good. You are here. Now, when I saw, when I do you all's registration and you come to the table, it's cool. And you say, oh, they got a book, because I only have you all submit a book, And I was like, okay, let me get her stuff ready for the show. The girl said, look, I have over 50 books now. Let's get this correct. So I guess my first question to you is, I have a litany of questions, but the first question is like, when in the world did you start writing to be able to have such a collection? I guess the when, and then I want to know your inspiration for doing so.
Well, I started writing my first book in 2017, but I was not taking it seriously. It was just me and my husband have been together since college. So we're college sweethearts. And when people who we haven't seen in a long time would see us, they would always be like, oh my gosh, you guys are still together. You guys are still together. And obviously we are. And they were like, oh, you should write a book. You should write a book about your love story. And I had zero interest, because I'm like, our love story to me isn't anything to be like written about. It's just two people who were young and fell in love and are still together. But when my schedule opened up a lot when my daughter went away to college, because she took up a lot of our time with her activities. And when she went away to college, and we just had our son at home, I had a little bit more free time. At the time, a teacher, and I was teaching part time, so it was way more time than what I was used to having available. So I was like, oh, maybe I'll write this book. So I just kind of started writing me a story that was loosely based on me and my husband's love story. Um, and that was in 2017. And it took, because I, like I said, I was just kind of like playing around, didn't take it that seriously. And then in 2018, I finally was like, okay, let me see what this is gonna do. And I had given it to a young lady who I used to compete against in track and field. Her name is Omega Keys. She had written, I think, like 40 books or something at the time. And so I had reached out to her and I was like, okay, what is this process or whatever? So she, I paid for her services and she helped me get through that whole editing and all that stuff process. And then I had a tragedy in my family. My younger sister was killed, and I kind of put everything on pause because I had to get my head together and just kind of figure out life again. So I put it on pause, and when I got back to writing, I didn't go back to that book because that book was loosely based on my life. There was a character that represented my sister in that book, so I just kind of put it on pause for a little bit, and I started writing these short stories. And they were romance stories. So I started writing the stories, and I thought of a pen name, and I made a blog, and I put I would just post the stories on my page. I didn't say who it was. I just post the story, and then people started inboxing me. It was like, "Do you know who Shanee is? Like, where can I find the rest of the story? Do you have more of her stories? La la, whatever." They kept asking, and then eventually someone was like, "Is this you? Like, is Shanee you?" And I'm like, "Yep." So, because I was kind of like not really sure how people would receive everything, so I was like, I don't know if I want to say like who it is. I just wanted to see what they thought. So the stories were being well received. People kept asking for more. And so I ended up putting 7 of those short stories into a book that is called Love, Hate, and Everything in Between. Um, and then that was actually the first book that I published. Yep, there it is. So it's 7 short stories, 7 short like romance stories, just about Black love and relationships, the ups and the downs and that kind of in betweens of relationships. But they're just very short, short little stories. And that was the first book, and it did pretty well. I kept at the time I didn't know a lot about ebooks and Amazon and how it all worked and all that stuff. So I was selling paperbacks. So people would I sold out of my paperbacks, several different orders of my paperbacks, which was exciting. And then I went back to the story that I had started previously that was loosely based on me and my husband. And I published that one next. So it was just kind of like a happenstance thing. I didn't necessarily think I would get to 50 books. It was just kind of like, oh, I'll do a couple books, see how they do. But everything was well received and I still had more ideas. So I just kept writing.
Look, y'all, let me say something to you. Let me just say one cotton picking thing. How does one create so much content in their life to even get 50 books? You hear people talk about writer's block and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
But what I love about this, and I love to find the lessons, your life, I'm talking to you, audience, your life is replete with experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And those experiences, you can either keep them in and try to learn lessons, or you could share them in a book, baby.
Mm-hmm.
You can make them into stories. And so let me tell you, first and foremost, you're inspiring me. I have inside of me a book on my best love story ever. but I've not done it yet. I've even had the person say, "Did you write the book yet?"
Mm-hmm.
Or "Did you make the film yet?" But I'm like, I don't know how the story ends, so I don't know. But I just love that you took your college love and decided to articulate that love. And the book, that for that reason, is very important, because do we suffer from love issues in the Black community? Oh, yes, indeed, right?
Of course.
But you have taken, and I'm so glad people encouraged you to write a book, tell about it, and then you created these stories. Now, I guess my my other, this obvious is not my first question, but my next question really is, love is a very broad topic,
Mm-hmm.
but what did you find important to articulate in those stories so that it would come across and people would really get to the point of, kind of being addicted to it? Because if you got 50 books, that means people are asking for it. Like you're
Praise
supplying
God.
them. So
Um,
what's the fiber beneath that?
like to me, it was like important for me to, because the fact that people were surprised that we were still together, that was kind of like, well, why are you surprised? But I also understand because I don't come from a two-parent home. My parents were not together while I was alive. My mom was married twice and divorced. So I understand how people don't think that, Black love is a thing. But my most important thing is to remind people that Black love does exist. Um, there are people who are married for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. My circle of friends are all in long-standing relationships. I only have a handful of friends who are single. So to me, it's like, what do you mean? It's not that surprising that these relationships are, that they survive, because I know people, I see people all the time. Um, so it's not like people act like it's an anomaly, that two Black people can fall in love and stay in love for such a long time, but it's a real thing. Like it happens all the time. And I just don't want people to be so shocked that it does exist. So to me, it's important for people to realize that Black love does exist, and it's not an anomaly. And in my books, I also try to always touch on um, the romantic relationships of Black love, but also sisterhoods, brotherhoods, um, mother son, mother daughter, father, like those familial relationships as well. Because in general, I think society thinks that we are just a messed up culture and a messed up people, but we love hard. So I don't want people to think that love doesn't exist in all levels of our relationships.
So we got this comment here. Look at this. It says, will you continue to write new books based on the evolvement? It's supposed to say evolvement of our loving relationship with your husband.
Um, Well, when people read that first book, it's called Until the Wheels Fall Off. And when people read that first book, when people say, "Oh my God, I just read Until the Wheels Fall Off," I almost like, because it was literally the first book that I started writing, even though I published it second. I almost cringe because I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I've become such a better writer since then."
Good.
And the relationship, there's only like really small pieces because we started dating in 1993.
Okay.
So there was no cell phones, there was no social media. So I had to kind of like do things to kind of spruce it up because it was like not as much drama as people want in like fiction books. Um and then it was like, okay, like let's add this part to make it. So I had to bring it up to date. So the book actually takes place in a more current time where there is social media and cell phones. So I can add like a little bit of something to kind of get the people going. But I would say that all of my books have a little bit of, not necessarily, I mean, I guess it probably does have a little bit of my personality. I think my female characters always have a little bit of my personality, but my male characters are very much my husband in so many ways, because it shows like how a Black man loves a Black woman.
Mm.
So it's, and when you are, I mean, this man was 19 years old when we started dating, and he was a football player. So imagine at 19, you're on a college campus and you are a outside linebacker, handsome, and it wasn't like there weren't people, women who were trying to get at him, but he chose me and he was committed to me. So to me, it's like the male characters in our book, when they find someone that they want to be with, they're very intentional about loving that woman. So
Mm.
that's definitely one of the characteristics that all of my male characters have. It's like once they're in, they are in. So
Mm. I love it. I love it. Look, this is the beauty of being a writer. You control the narrative.
mhm.
You control the narrative. And so to be able, and I love our brothers so much. So to be able to portray a brother in his excellence.
Mhm.
And to be able to articulate what that feels like in a relationship. Like we need it, because I think even as young women, we're raised, and it's interesting to hear that you were raised by a single parent, because sometimes we think, our realities are really askew.
Mhm.
You don't have no good, reference to
Yeah.
relationship. But I'm so happy to see that did not taint your
Mhm.
process, taint your viewpoint. Like, and that, like you said, he chose me. Hercules, Hercules, Hercules. Like, that's so awesome. And what does he think about that? Like, what does he have to say about you being a writer, and knowing? So I guess he knows that he is the kind of prototype that you are using. But what is his feedback about you being a writer?
Well, first he be talking about make sure he gets his cut because that's his first thing. He was like, I better get my cut. But it's so interesting because he's very proud. But
Okay.
he has only read one of my books, which was
Okay.
actually like last summer. I wrote a book. My husband is a member of Omega Sci-Fi, so
Okay.
I wrote a book where the male character was a member of Omega Sci-Fi. So he read the book to see like what if I did it justice or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And while he was reading the book, he would kind of like give me a lot of side eyes because my books are very spicy. So he kept giving me side eyes like you are something else. And I was like, hey. Or my male character would say something that he said to me before, or
Okay.
something that he imagined himself saying. So he'll be like looking at me like I'm stealing his, I'll say something. He'll say something even sometimes now and be like, oh, that's a good one. I got to write that down because
Oh,
I'm
I
going to
like
use it in my book. So he's always kind of like, you're stealing my stuff. I'm like,
that's
nope.
awesome. That is hilarious and awesome. We got another comment here. Someone says, "Do you have a favorite book you've written, and why?"
Hey Malcolm, that's my friend.
Nice.
My favorite book I would say is a book called Conflicted Heart. Um, it was my first book to hit over 1,000 reviews on Amazon.
Mm, mm.
Um, but it was very well received. But writing the book, to me, it was probably I would say like the second book that I struggled while I was writing it because it's a taboo romance.
Okay.
So it's the in real life, I would side eye this couple. Because you just don't do it's frowned upon to do what they did. So yeah. But it was a struggle. Even with my publisher, when she read it, she was like, okay, you need to put a disclaimer in the front. Because the female character was very much her mindset was very much how mine was as I was writing it because she kind of went
Okay.
back and forth a lot because their relationship is taboo.
Okay.
So
Okay.
in my mind, as I was writing, I was just like, okay, just forget it. We're gonna do it. We're gonna be all in. And then I was like, oh no, nah, this ain't right. So the female character kind of went back and forth a lot. So I did put a disclaimer asking the readers to be patient with her because it was a hard decision for her to make to move forward.
I see. So clearly, and because I'm listening to you, because I was like, this girl, she must be she must be using AI or something. Somebody must be writing all of this, because how can you do it, right? And the reason why I asked, like, how long have you been writing? Because I do want people to see that no, no, no. This sister was not writing for 20 years, and that, no, but these stories keep coming. And so
Hmm.
do you focus on like a major character, or do you kind of pick characters to focus on that just come out of you, like, or scenarios? Like, how are you choosing the topics? Because to write so many short stories and regular novels, and where are the people coming from that you're writing about?
I mean, I'm inspired by mostly like a song on the radio might come on.
Mm,
I
mm.
don't I don't watch a lot of TV because I'm always writing.
Yes.
And I'm a teacher who is trying not to be a teacher. And my goal, I'm taking the next year off when school gets out to do this full time author for a full time and praying to God that I don't have to go back. But because I have a full-time job, I don't have a lot of time to watch TV. I spend my free time writing all the time. So a lot of times it's inspired by a song on the radio. But I also, with my publishing company, sometimes we have different themes that we go with. I have a book that's like full of different tropes. If you don't know what a trope is like, is it like a second chance romance? Is like a May December, older woman, younger man, older man, younger woman. So I kind of look through the tropes sometimes to see like, what's inspiring me. But right now I have in the notes in my phone, I have a page that is just full of just different ideas that I want to do at some point. So I just go through my notes and I look at my notes and be like, okay, what do I feel like working with right now? And then sometimes a lot of my books I call them spin-off series. I think sometimes they call them standalone series. So they're basically books that are connected, but there isn't a cliffhanger. So one story might start off with a young lady who has two sisters. So she gets a story, but then her sisters get a story as well. So
Okay.
even though the books are connected, they're not like a part one, part two, because
Sure.
they just individually have their own stories, but they're connected because they appear in each person's story. So a lot of times that's how my ideas come about, because the female character might have a friend or a sister or a cousin, and then they end up getting a story because they're, as a secondary character, their energy was a lot, and like maybe the readers are like, oh my gosh, can so and so get a story, like, ooh, what happened with so
Mm.
and so. So whenever I'm going to do a story like that, I'm very intentional about just making sure that secondary character is interesting, so that when I do their story, the readers are like, okay, good, they got a story. But if it's going to be a standalone, like if I know it's not going to be a part one or part two, I'm very intentional about writing it in such a way that all of the doors are closed. There's no gaps where the the readers have questions and stuff and want to know more later. But I have so many ideas just just right now that I hopefully I don't run out anytime soon.
I don't see that. Somebody asked, who's your publisher?
My publisher is Beverly Love. It's B Love Publications, and she's a very small, like, independent publishing company. And she has about 30 Black women authors that is underneath her. And she writes as well. So if you look up B Love, you'll see she has over 100 books. So that's why when I don't want to like minimize my accomplishment as writing 54 books. I actually have a book that is releasing today. But my pen sisters, they don't play. Like, I have pen sisters who have 100 books, 80 books. Like, and these women, we be writing. So I am in like the most amazing company with my publishing company, because we inspire each other, we keep each other going, we hold each other accountable. So like, to me, it's like when people say, like, I'm beyond proud that I've done this, because again, when I started writing, I did not think that I would I did not think that I would write this many books. But my publishing company and my pen sisters, we don't mess around. Like, we don't play.
I
So
love it. I love it. And is that when you say, is that B, the letter B, or BE?
yeah, the letter B, like B period Love
B period.
Publications. Yep. And she writes under B Love. Yep.
Okay, perfect. Let me tell y'all something. This is such a wonderful testimony of endurance. Like, it's almost like your full life. She said, I make books based on songs that come on the radio. What are you talking about? Like, that is so phenomenal in that, like I said, when people are struggling for like content, it's almost like, what? Like, you have
Yeah,
so much that you
it's like
experience.
there's this, I don't know if you heard the song, it's called Hate Our Love. It's by Queen Naija and Big Sean. And the title was just Hate Our Love. So I have a book called Hate Our Love. And I can't tell you what the song is about, but in the book, these two people fall in love, but they get a lot of hate from the outside. So
I
that
see.
was basically what inspired the story. So that it's like, a lot of people think that she's not good enough for him because of her situation. So they get so much hate from the outside. So that was kind of the premise of that story, because people hate that they love each other.
Right. Now, clearly, I'm a proponent of watching Little House on the Prairie. I love it. I watch Little House on the Prairie every day. But what I love about Little House on the Prairie is that when you talk about these stories that are pulled. So you got this full cast. You got Laura, her sister, father, but then you have these episodes. It's about her sister, or it's about her adopted brother, whatever.
Right.
And so, have you been approached, or are you thinking of sort of the television version of this, the movie version of your a series of your stories? Have you ever thought about that? Because it sounds like that could be a thing, and
Well,
allow.
let's touch and agree on that.
Come on,
And
come
put it
on,
out in the atmosphere.
come
I
on.
think about that all the time. I wouldn't necessarily say I've been approached in, I guess, I haven't been approached in a manner that it went further than that conversation.
Okay.
But I am hopeful that it does go that far eventually.
I think it's so doable. I mean, when you look at what you're saying, and you look at all these books, like, what, girl? These are episodes of an overall show, And I think one of the things that I would love to see is that articulation of Black love. I don't think it's done well enough, right? Where we have enough examples on the screen of how Black people can love each other. And it's almost like we don't think we can connect without being over sexual, or being like, like you said, your books are spicy, and that's cool. We love a lot spice. But just to see, why did he choose you? What was in his mind to make him want to choose you? What is the glue that is keeping it together? Like, what is that working together about? And I would love to see that portrayed on film, or as a TV pilot. So I think it's something to potentially look at, because you probably could shop that to some entity very shortly about,
In all my books also, like, I'm very intentional about having a happily ever after.
Good.
And that's not saying that I'll never write a book that doesn't. I just haven't been drawn to do that as of now. So all my books have a happily ever after. Because I feel like life in general, of course, in the books there is some conflict. Because relationships have conflict.
Sure.
But it's, to me, so far, I don't think any of the conflict has been serious enough that I pulled a couple apart permanently. Because all of the conflict is something that they're able to work through with, communication. But I think that life brings us so much non-happy endings that it's important that when people read, I feel like they're looking for an escape. And you don't want to, because even in Conflicted Heart, which, again, like I said, that book was a struggle. And in that book, when I tell you the emotional roller coasters that I take the reader on, there's a lot of them. But in the end, it's like the most beautiful happily ever after that you could even, think of.
I love it. Interesting in our culture as a people throughout the diaspora. I'm telling you right now, I do not like when the story ends in tragedy.
I know.
I don't like that. And in certain cultures, I ain't saying no name.
I know.
But they be ending in tragedy. And I'll be like, yo, why? Like, why do we have a threshold for this level of sadness? I don't like it. So I am so happy that you do that and make sure that there's a happily ever after. You all, we are talking to Kay Shanee. We're going to go to a commercial break. But if you want to call in and speak to the Queen, the number is 727-731-5192. You all are doing a great job just putting your comments on YouTube or Facebook. So when we come back, we'll get some more, because I have some questions about other books that I saw. I'm like, is she writing those? Is she working with somebody else? So there's some more questions, but we'll be right back, guys, after these quick messages.
you're watching this, that means you're one of the 4.6 billion people from around the world who are using an electronic device to talk to people. In these times, people are using the internet to talk to everybody. Friends, neighbors, family members, co-workers. People are on their cell phones and computers all day long. Now, if you're in business, that is great news. That means you can sell your products and services all day long and never have to leave your home. All you need is a media connection, somebody to connect you to an audience. And that's why I'm talking to you today. We produce programs, and our audience members are people who shop. They buy clothes, food, beauty supplies, cleaning supplies, home repair, transportation services, child care services. Whatever you're selling, they need to buy it. We're your media connection. Just follow this link, and tomorrow you can sit back and relax at home while your business is making you money.
All right, that's the female solution. You can put your advertisements on our service. We love it. And the Soulful Chicago Book Fair. We did a little commercial there because we love the Soulful Chicago Book Fair. I'm going to tell you one thing. When we have our Soulful Chicago Book Fairs, no, you can't come sell your shoes. You can't come sell incense. You cannot come sell shea butter now because this is a book fair because I'm from New York. So we have a book fair that I've gone to traditionally. And so they'll have like 2 blocks of authors and then they'll have 1 block of just general merchandise. Mm-hmm. Well, my people got a little psychosis. So what they're going to do is go to general merchandise. That's what and then they're going to buy the incense, buy the shea butter, whatever, earrings. Then they're going to come back and tell you the money they don't have to buy the books because they already bought these things. So in our event, no way. You're only selling books. If it's no books, then it's food because people got to eat. But we pride ourselves on doing a few things. One, looking at history, the fact that there used to be anti-literacy laws so that we couldn't read. And if you read, you would get, I don't know, lynched. You could get your tongue cut out. Like, no, we're not dealing with that anymore. And people try to say the myth that if you want to hide something from Black people, person, put it in a book. Right. Mm-hmm. And so my thing is to defy that because our first year we had 3,000 people up in the streets buying books. Wow. And so like, no. The book fair shows you a different world about our books. And so letting y'all know, Shanee will be there August 9th, right in the audience of our total audience, meaning who you sit in front of, right? But you will be her audience that particular day. And will you have all 50 books? Will you have the majority of your books?
I do try to, it's hard to fit them all. I remember when I could just pack up all my books and all my inventory and just be somewhere, but it gets very difficult now because I have so many books. So I do try to bring most of them. I bring my bestsellers, like my most popular. And I think hopefully by August, I'll have like 3-4 more books because I have a book coming out today and I'm already writing another book. So I have a few other ideas. So I try to bring my most recent and my best sellers. But it also depends on how many, like I try to like purchase 2 tables when I do these events because 1 table is definitely.
It doesn't cover that. It's just not covering it. Stop playing. Yeah. And what I love about this is what people don't understand. And I might even be guilty of this, but the effect of having 50 books is not, oh, you got too many books. No, it's like when you're in Macy's and you are surrounded by racks and racks and racks of clothes. Abundance makes you feel like, ooh, like you have options. And, I really applaud your work and applaud what you're doing and how you're doing it because you're not even tripping. You're talking about a book fair. I probably have 4 more books. Like, yeah. That level of speed, that level of endurance, that level of courage, those are things you just need being a writer. But I love that you have a certainty that people don't necessarily have when they're writing these books. And I love the formula because when people usually say to me, I have 11 books, I kind of look at them sometimes like, what? Like, why Why you ain't focus on your first book? But it can, when you have it like you have it, it creates sort of the department store of Black romance,
It's
baby.
funny because when I go to events, I had an event this past Saturday, and they a lot of times when people see me, they initially think I'm a store. So they'll ask like, "What store are you, or where you located, or whatever." But then even this little girl was the cutest thing. This little girl said, "Why do they all have the same name?" And
Nice.
I thought she meant the typo, so I kind of like looked over the table and I'm looking like, what is she looking at? Then I was like, well, what do you mean? And I said they have different titles. She was like, no, the names. I guess a lot of my books have my name at the top. And
Very
she
nice.
said,
That's
no,
right.
all the names, it's all the same name at the top. And I was like, oh, and I was like, oh, I said, well, that's me. I was like, I wrote all of these books, so that's my name on the books. And she was
I
just like,
love it.
oh, but it was just such an innocent question, like, why
Yes.
do they all say the same?
I love it. I just love it though. That branding, you a beast with the branding. So y'all need to take notes at
Well,
like
thank you.
the style and how you are laying it out is wonderful. I want to bring this up because I looked at this and I wondered, I said, this girl, wait a minute, she doing children's books, but it says children's books by Katrina Anderson, but then it's on your website. So tell me about this. Is this
Yes.
collaborative
Katrina
work? What is
Anderson
this?
is my government name.
Love it.
So when I started writing, I decided I was going to publish. I was a teacher. I'm still a teacher, and I knew that the material was not necessarily kid friendly.
Yes.
And I'm a high school teacher who is currently teaching sixth grade. So I'm teaching sixth grade, but at the time I was teaching high school. That's where most of my teaching experience is, at the high school level.
Yes.
But even still, they're under 18. So I did not want them to come across my books and be like, Miss Anderson, I saw some things. So, because kids with social media, all of my social media pages are public. I'm not hiding the fact that I'm an author. So, if a student does enough investigation, they will find my books and they will find quotes that I posted, and my quotes can be a little bit spicy. So, I was trying to do the right, responsible thing. So that's why I write the romance books under my pen name.
Got you.
And then I write the children's books under my government name. And because of the classes that I teach business classes. So I've taught, at the time I was teaching like entrepreneurship,
Mhm.
um, consumer management, marketing. So it's kind of hard not to share what I do as an entrepreneur with my students, because I have different examples that I've experienced or whatever. So of course I'm going to share with them that I'm an author, but I do only talk about my children's books. Even though they know that I write romance, I've never told my students my pen name.
Got you. I just love it. I mean, come on. That I want you all, if you're watching, again, welcome to Gathering of the Griots with Shanee. But do you see how the sister is taking her full life experience and coming up with content for these books? I'm a fellow teacher, not teaching anymore, but have done the sixth grade, took high schoolers to Africa, overstand just dealing with that population, and how that's such a choice population. And I always am
Mm-hmm,
looking to promote people who write young adult books or write books for, like coming of age books
mm-hmm,
that allow them to have a story. Because when you go to children's writing, it's usually like real little,
mm-hmm,
and it's nothing in between. But we need stories that can echo what they're experiencing
mm-hmm,
and make it so that they feel good about or find advice or guidance. I think it's good to articulate love even in their stage.
mm-hmm.
Because
It's interesting that you say that too, because I feel like at some point,
Mhm,
I am going to write a book for the middle school age population, only because, like I said, most of my teaching experience is with high school.
mhm.
Um, but the last 2 years I've been with sixth graders, and I did teach sixth, seventh, and eighth grade for a year several years ago. But just in working with them now, and I wrote a book recently. It actually comes out next month. That the couple met in sixth grade.
Oh, I love that.
So the book, initially when I wrote the book, it followed them. It was sixth grade, seventh grade, eighth grade. Now they're in high school, and I got up to probably about 24,000 words that I had written, and I was like, oh my gosh, there's no sex. I'm like, there's no sex. I was like, what in the world? What am I writing? And in my mind, I was like, this could be a middle school age book because of how, this could definitely be. So I actually put that book on pause because I was like, wait a minute, this is a little bit different for me because people are used to my spice and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I put the book on pause and I wrote a couple other ones and I went back to it. So I ended up making, in the book, for most of the book, they are adults. They're like 30 years old, but there's moments of flashbacks because they're best friends. And so there's moments of flashbacks to that kind of describe how their relationship became what it is as the 30-year-old adults that they are.
Okay.
So all of those moments that I wrote up to, sixth, seventh, eighth grade, parts of college, they're still in the book, but they're written as flashbacks because the young adult or the middle school age territory was something that I wasn't familiar with. And I wasn't completely comfortable with it. And I didn't really think I would do it total justice. And the way that I had this story panning out, um, initially it was not a middle school age book, but the experience of writing what I had written at that point, it let me know, it kind of gave me the confidence that, you could probably write a book for this age group. But I had not thought about it until I started writing that book. So it was just kind of interesting when when it came. It's a romance book now. I think it's a coming of age romance book. I would say that, because of so much of the book does take place when they are underage,
Mm-hmm.
and the different memories of like how did their bond become so close.
Yeah.
But I hadn't stepped into those waters yet. So I was like, what am I doing? But
Mm-hmm.
now I do feel like I'm confident enough now after writing what I had written up to that point. I think I can write a book for a younger kids.
I would love that, girl. And let me tell you, you'd be touring to all the high schools so that they can, one, meet an author that writes, but then the book, they will purchase the book for the students ahead of time so that they can all line up afterwards and get it signed by you. So I'm just giving you stuff, girl.
Yeah, yeah,
And I know, if you don't have it already, I know you're in Wisconsin and we're in Chicago, but like if you're going to sell to the public schools here, you have to be a vendor of
I
that.
know.
So whatever
Yeah.
that is, make that process
Believe me,
happen.
that vendor thing, because my son is a DJ.
Yes.
So he's DJ, different events in Chicago. And initially when he first started DJing, they weren't very strict with the vendor thing,
Yes.
but now they are. And so I have, like, literally every summer I'm like, we gotta get this vendor thing together with CPA because it's
Yes.
not an easy
Yeah.
task.
It's not an easy task. And one of the things I'm working on renewing is mine, because then I will feature you all as Soulful Chicago Book Fair participants so that you could come on and come on in and don't have to worry about that part. I'm gonna give you some of these comments. We got my girl Sonabella said this so inspiring to hear. Everything you're saying is really inspiring. Even me, I'm like, you better do that book and do that relationship book. I may not be ready to do it yet. Then we got authors coming on the table. Author Amber Gee, do
Hey,
you know?
that's one of my pen sisters.
Good,
Hey.
good. She said good morning. Good morning. And then my girl Janice, this is one of my homies. Hey, Butte. I think we went to Northwestern together. But she says, who does your cover art for your children's books?
So my very first children's book, I wrote with my son, who he's 21 now, but I think he was 16 when we wrote the book. It was Mom, Dad, I Want to Be a DJ.
Okay.
And it's interesting because that story came about because he started DJing when he was 9 years old. And so people would always ask, how did he start doing this at such a young age? Because my son was booking, he had his first booked event when he was like 10, and he was booking these events, as such a young person I'm talking about adult parties, because he loves house music, he loves 90s music, and he was this 12-year-old, 13-year-old playing this music that was well before his time. So people would always ask, like, how did he get started and stuff? So we decided to write a story just this kind of tells like how he became interested in DJing initially, and what made him so excited about it. So that first book, I actually found an illustrator on Facebook, and y'all, I'm gonna tell you, I was very nervous because y'all know there's so many scams and stuff on Facebook, but thankfully, this young lady was not. She was overseas, so the communication between us was always kind of like different because when I was asleep, she was awake, vice versa. So there were times when I was thinking, oh my God, she done took my little money, my little story, whatever. But they actually had a natural disaster, and she didn't have like internet for a period of time, so it wasn't anything intentional. But she was really good. And then when I wrote the second book, like the second book was Black Girl with the Afro. The third children's book was My Melanin is Magic, and then the fourth children's book is I Can Be. And that one, those three books were illustrated by a young lady by the name of Zoe Hunter. And she was 17 at the time for the first book. She was 17, 19, and 21. So she just turned 22 actually in February. But that her and her family, I just absolutely love them. She is extreme. If you look inside of those three books, especially, you would just fall in love with the pictures because I sent her the words, the story. And I think with Black Girl with the Afro, she actually was a Black girl with the Afro at the time.
I
I
love
wrote
it.
that book with my daughter, who was a Black girl with the Afro.
Mm.
Because there was no way that my daughter was going to have me write a book with my son and not write a book with her. Because she was like, hold
Now,
on, what we about to write about?
I love it.
So when I reached out to her, me and her mother connected because she had been an artist for much of her life, and her mother was kind of managing her career as an artist, and then I was managing my son's career as a DJ.
Mm-hmm.
So we both kind of had that in common. And when she read my book, when Zoe read my book, it just resonated with her so much. She absolutely fell in love with it.
I
And
love
was very excited to do the illustrations. And I feel like I love Ishma, the lady who did the first book, but Zoe, we connected so well, and she connects so well with the books that I've done, since then, that I can't see myself using another illustrator unless she's just completely and totally not available.
I know that's right. When you find that person, you don't budge because
And I sent people her way, like I recommended her to people.
nice.
I just love her spirit. I love her family spirit. They are very good people.
And she's a very good illustrator. Zoe, you getting props up in here. Zoe
Yeah, I
Hunter,
try to
thank
talk
you.
about her as much as I can because first of all, like I said, she was 17 at the time, and I love young entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Um, so I try to tell people about her all the time because she's so great.
Now, can we get these books, all of them, on your website?
Yes, they all are on my website. Obviously, they're available on Amazon and some other places as well. But they're all on my website, and I sign them, of course, if they order from my website.
Absolutely. You guys, if you don't see, there is a website at the bottom of the screen. That's www.authorkshanee.com. If you're listening and not watching, that's author, KAYSHANEE.com. Okay. So yes, somebody said, Zelda says, Grand Rising, beautiful queen, author, and Asada enjoying the show. They really are enjoying the show, honey, because
Thank you for tuning in.
you giving it to them. Now, this is something I got to show y'all how she roll. Let me just show you how she's rolling here. I started looking at stuff and I said, wait a minute. Just wait a minute.
Oh.
The girl is on ABC Chicago. They talk about local romance novelist pens positive depictions of Black love. Tell me how that experience occurred.
So when last year, this actually a year ago today, actually, which is kind of interesting. My first traditionally published book released with Black Odyssey. And prior to that, I was tasked with trying to figure out how to promote the book. Because promoting a traditional book is a little bit different than our indie books. So I hired a publicist by the name of Felicia Apgary. I think that's how it's pronounced. APB. APP. Let me see how. I want to get my girl's name right because when I tell you, she is amazing. Like I can't say enough stuff about Felicia, because she did such an amazing job helping me be promoted. So her last name is Apri, APPREY. And she is amazing. Like
You said she's a publisher?
Yeah, she's a publicist.
Publicist.
So she helped me. I want to say I was on ABC, WGN, and Fox, I believe. Yes, amazing. Look at girl, you are quick. But she's
Mhm.
amazing. And she does the most wonderful job preparing you for it. She comes there to support you, and she just kind of gets you in front of the right people. So if you need a publicist, I would 100%. And you're in the Chicagoland area, Felicia is definitely the best. And in promoting the book, it was Black History Month. I think I had one. I do think I had one. One of the channels was in March, but most of it was during Black History Month. I mean, she got me some radio interviews. She got me obviously in front of national news stations. She got me articles in newspapers and magazines. Like it was amazing. Like she did such a wonderful job. Love her with my whole heart.
Look, she about to get a phone call. That's what we
I'm
about
telling
to
you, she
do.
is amazing. She is amazing and worth every penny.
Would she be open to you giving her contact number on this
Oh
interview?
yeah, I have definitely referred her to people.
Okay, so because I can put her number here and we can give her a call. You want to do it?
Let me see. Let me make sure. Let me.
Uh-oh. Or we should just take the name and then you give it to me later. You want to play it like that?
No, I don't think she would mind at all.
Hercules,
Let
Hercules.
me look. Hold on. Let me make sure she has a. I think this might be her personal number, so maybe I shouldn't give that out on
Yeah, that's okay. Felicia,
here.
please, you guys get that name down. That's all you got to
But
do.
she is on Facebook. So if you look her up under her name, she is on Facebook. We actually went to school together.
Okay,
So I was like, this is just working out great because I had no idea where to look for a publicist. So we went
got
to
you.
SIU Carbondale, the only SIU that's
Hey,
important. And we went to SIU together. So I was when I realized that she did, because I kept saying to people, I need a publicist. They're like, call Felicia. I'm like, oh yeah, she does do this. So I was it was a blessing to even be in connection with her.
I think it's great too because, and here's some more inspiration. You're a bevy of resources. Um, I'm an author as well, but when you're doing a million things, you
Mm-hmm.
can't play every role. I don't know. I've been on certain channels and this and that, and I don't. It just happenstance, like, oh, thank you, God. But it's nothing. Somebody needs to be playing that role so
Mm-hmm.
that you can do what you got to do, write your
Yeah.
books, and then have them come about. Go ahead. Look, we got my girl down here. This is my girl. Like I said, we went to Northwestern together. She done put down everybody's Zoe name. She got down the publicist
Yes.
name. Yeah, don't play. She taking notes. She must be. I'm gonna
Yes,
have to
I
talk to her.
appreciate that.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And but this is why we do this show, because yeah, we want to feature you guys. I really honor everybody that chooses to be in the book fair, but you all have resources and you set examples. As authors, we set examples of how this gets done,
Mhm.
and not only that, we set examples of how to be courageous enough to take it seriously. I think a
Yeah.
lot of authors suffer from low self-esteem and not taking their work seriously. They think that they're not going to sell their books, and it's like, what? Stand up and get it together. Now, let me ask this, because there's this also.
Before you say
This,
that though, let me tell you something about my publisher.
go
Be
ahead.
Well, she gets us together. Like when
Mm,
I tell you, if you saw her in person, she's a tiny little thing. When I tell you she is mighty, like she don't play no game. She will get us together. Like anytime when we're all in our chat and we're feeling, it's a little, negativity or somebody says something, she come in there and be like, we're not doing this. Like she
nice.
gets us together. Like she is a huge inspiration, obviously because she writes as well.
Yes,
But she don't let us sit in anything.
I
We
love
don't,
it.
we don't sit in any negativity. She gets us all the way together.
I love it. That's right. Look, she little. I'm 4'11". That's right.
Right. She little, tiny but mighty. That's what I
That's
say.
tribe. That's tribe. That's tribe right there. So that's good. But tell me a little bit about this. Is this a different television show than what
This
we
was
just saw?
on WGN. It was the same press run for my book with Black Odyssey this time around, but it was just WGN.
Got you. And I saw that and I was like, oh, she's touching the media waves in different
No,
ways.
it was all during that press run when I was promoting this time around.
Got you. I love it to the 10th degree. Now, I think your book is also, what if I saw correctly, I could buy a book, but don't you have it in different formats? I feel like I saw it in phone and like talk a little bit about
Most
that.
of my books are my romance book 100% for sure are in ebook and paperback.
Okay.
However, I do have 7, soon to be 8 audiobooks as well. I don't know if I do have a graphic somewhere. You might not have pulled it, but I do have a graphic.
What is this? Is this for phone?
But that's like, oh gosh, that's an old graphic. You went deep for that.
Come on. Have to find it.
That was just when I was promoting, and like since the books are on ebook, I put them on the phone because most people read on their on their phones and stuff.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. And same with these
Yep.
titles.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. And I love that. Come on, y'all. She's stepping up to your game is tight, Ma.
Oh,
It's
thank you.
tight. I love it. It's inspiring to all of us in terms of, how to create, and the fact that you are going to go ahead and create full time. Kudos to you, big time. Now we have about.
And that was a hard decision because I've been teaching for 20 years.
Right.
So obviously, teachers don't make as much as I think we should make, but my salary is I have a nice salary. So it takes a lot to walk away from that. But it's like I have to bet on myself. And if I can write, like I just keep telling myself, if you can write, I wrote 13 books last year. And 8 of them were romance books. And I think I had a children's book, the romance books, and I want to say like 2 coloring books. So if I can do that with having a full-time job, I feel like I can do so much more if I can focus on just writing. So I have to give myself that opportunity.
You're a beast. That's all I'm gonna say. You're a literary beast. You might as well
I appreciate that.
Might as well get some T-shirts made.
Amber, thank you so much. You are too.
Yep, Amber said that you're very inspiring and that she admires you. You can't help but to, I guess I want to close out with just asking, what do you say to people watching you today about supporting you and what they can do? Whatever your words of wisdom are to close on out.
Of course, I appreciate all the support, especially when someone tries me out as a new to them author, because people have their faves. So when someone tries me out, and they have no idea who I am, and then they go through my whole catalog, that is very much appreciated. And then I would say that I always try to end with, I don't think it's ever too soon to follow your dream, but I also don't think it's ever too late. As I said, both of my children had their own businesses at very young ages. My son was 9 when he started DJing. My daughter was 12 when she started making jewelry. And she inspired my son, because my son was like, wait a minute, she's making money. I need to find something to make some money.
Okay.
So she inspired him to try to figure out what he wanted to do. She doesn't make jewelry as much as she used to as a 25-year-old. But as a 21-year-old, he DJs for the Milwaukee Bucks. He's been on the radio, all that stuff. So he is still following his dream that he started at 9 years old. So I don't think it's ever too young to follow your dream. But I published my first book when I was 43 years old. Gotcha. So it's never too late either.
Y'all heard that. Never too late or too early to start your dream. Thank you, Shanee, for being on today. You are the bomb.
Thank you so much, and you are too.
We're going to bring you much success at the Soulful Chicago Book Fair, August 9th. And you guys tune in next Tuesday for our next episode of Gathering of the Griots. Peace. Make it a powerful day.
Thank you so much.
You got it. Mm-hmm.
We've come to the end of our show today. If you missed any broadcasts, go to our website for the audio and video archives at www.thefemalesolution.com. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to thank all of you who participated in today's discussions. And to our global family joining us from all around the world, we say thank you. To our family in China, xie xie. India, Dhanyavad. Japan, arigato. Korea, kamsamnida. Russia, spasiba. Germany, danke. Poland, dziękuję. France, merci. Spain, gracias. Italy, grazie. Egypt, shukran. Ghana, madasi. Nigeria, eshe. South Africa, ngiyabonga. Senegal, jaref. Kenya, asante. Israel, toda. Pakistan, Shukriya. Afghanistan, Tashakur. Saudi Arabia and Palestine, Shukran. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Thank you, and may peace be upon you and the mercy of God and God's blessings.